Welcome to everyone. Welcome for the training on Green Index 3.0. We give some minutes to the participant to join and we just start. So welcome again to everyone. Thanks for joining us. You're on the right place at the right time. So here is the Green Index 3.0 training. So while we slowly start, you see that there is a chat as well as a question and answer. And you can communicate with us through the chat, through the question and answer. The training is recorded, so you will have the chance to see it again if you want. And also, we will normally share with you the slides afterward. So we'll suggest we can start while the people are still joining it. This is the training of the Green Index 3.0. As many of you know, we have been released this tool this year, and here we are pleased to introduce you on how to use it, what is the content, and then happy to follow up with you if you want to engage in an in-depth training as well as an in-depth assessment of your institution. Next slide, please. So first of all, couple of words on the Green Inclusive and Climate Smart Finance Action Group. Many of you probably know us. It is a unique think tank that's work on environmental responsible inclusive finance, is multi-stakeholder. We will see in a second who the kind of institutions that are part of the action group. If someone of you is interested to join to the action group and you are not part yet, please just drop us an email at the end of the training. We'll be happy to follow up with you. So the objective is to discuss current challenge and strategies in green inclusive finance to improve the knowledge and action, to enhance the cooperation, increase international attention, and of course, develop dedicated tools that are recognized as a standard, like the Green Index 3.0 we're going to speak today, and well as making publication, disseminate funding, and of course, enhance interest and concrete commitment by various stakeholders, MFIs, investors, etc. Next slide, please. So the action group, next slide, please. Super. It's been founded some time ago, so 2013. We have presently more than 150 members that are affiliated from more than 75 institutions, and is coordinated by Natalia, that you're going to know in a second if you don't know her yet, and myself. As you see from the list, there are various institutions that are like investors, international agency, consulting, researcher, network of microfinance institutions. So we really privilege inclusivity and multiplicity of stakeholders. Next slide, please. So the Green Index, as you know, is a tool that's aimed to support the environmental assessment of microfinance institutions. Has been developed since 2014, and it is used to assess the environmental performance of the financial institution. Could be a local bank, could be a cooperative, could be a microfinance institution. So any institution that provides finance to smallholder, poor household, small enterprises, being in developing or developed countries. And this is a set of indicators that assess the performance of the financial service provider and not of the clients. It is used for various purposes. One is awareness raising. What could we do to improve the environmental performance if I'm not doing yet, or if I want to enhance my performance? Of course, evaluation. How am I performing against best practices? Commitment, how I would like to perform. Planning, what should I do and by when? Prioritize action, and of course, when you put in place your action plan, how to monitor your progresses. Next slide, please. Voila, as you know, the SPTF series has also included new dimension, the social and environmental performance universal standard for performance management. We have the pleasure to work with CERISE and SPTF for a couple of years to develop the dimension 7 together. And that has been, of course, ensured to be aligned with the Green Index 3.0 that just provided a bit more in-depth view. We will speak about that in a moment. Next slide, please. So some concepts. Next slide. So the Green Index, as well as the environmental performance of financial institutions that work in inclusive finance, is based on three key concepts. One is vulnerability. Next slide, please. That is about how client and institution are affected by the environment, so like climate change. Back, please. The other one is adverse environmental impact. That is about, next slide, how clients and institutions affect the environment through their activities like pollution, cutting trees, etc. And then the other one is about economic opportunities. Next slide, please. So it is about satisfying demand complied with regulation, as well as support increasing of revenue with sustainable practices and technologies. Next slide. So about vulnerability and adverse environmental impact, maybe a couple of words more. It is important to understand that environmental performance is not just do not harm the environment or make a good contribution to environmental conservation, but is also, and I will even say mainly, supporting resiliencies for poor population. Yeah, we're in the middle of climate change, so a poor population, micro, small enterprises, smallholder, poor household will be among the most affected one. So we need to support to generate resilience and decrease vulnerability. So the idea of vulnerability is key. Client and institution could be vulnerable to climate change, to environmental degradation and biodiversity loss, like food security, to energy poverty, yeah, to heat their house properly or be able to cook, for example, a lack of clean water and sanitation. And of course, the other side of the coin is about adverse environmental impact. So it is about the environmental impacts due to client or institution, for example, in terms of emission of greenhouse gases, in terms of air, water, and soil pollution, in terms of deforestation, in terms of course, land degradation, storage, and use of chemicals. Next slide, please. So these, of course, are perceived as risk. Yeah, a risk in terms of vulnerability can affect the financial performance of your institution, as well as the subsistency and livelihood of your clients, as well as risk in terms of environmental risk, in terms of ESG risk. And of course, it also needs to comply and to improve the practices to decrease the vulnerability and to reduce the impact on ecosystem. Next slide. Of course, we are in the middle of a transition, and so all of that are opportunity to enhance the social mission, to include populations that are vulnerable by developing resiliencies and support sustainable solutions, as well as to comply with the social and environmental mission to provide better services to the clients. Next slide, please. So the cooperation of these three concepts, so supporting the reduction of vulnerability, reduce adverse environmental impacts, and promote better environmental practices while generating economic opportunity for the financial institution as well as for the client, of course, is what basically is named Green Inclusive Finance. Next slide. At the center of Green Inclusive Finance, of course, there are green products and services. We will speak about that in a moment. It is important already as today to think and to understand the green product and services could be financial and non-financial, and typically aim for a triple bottom line: reduce clients' vulnerability to the problem we discussed before, reduce adverse environmental impact on ecosystem, or promote better practices, as well as increase production and quality and revenue. So these are the three dimensions we just discussed, and through that, fulfill the environmental strategy of the institution. Next slide. The only last brick for the concept is the concept of indirect and direct that you will see inside the Green Index 3.0. So there is a concept of indirect is about the activities of the clients. So what the client does with the financial institution provide to them. and their adverse environmental impact or vulnerability. And direct instead is what the institution, like the headquarters, the branches, or the human resource institution does in terms of generating adverse environmental impact on the ecosystem or exposing to climate vulnerability, for example. Next slide, please. So with this, I give the word to Natalia.
Yeah, thank you very much, Davide, and welcome to everyone to this session that we have for you today, the training on the Green Index. Let me now give you an introduction to the tool that we are looking at it today. So there is one annotation on the screen. Hope it doesn't disturb in the next slides. So we have seen from these previous slides now how we are forming or coming up to the final definition of green inclusive finance, which we have been working already for a while. And just to give you in detail what we are referring to, we are talking about how institutions are integrating processes for risk management, financial products, non-financial services, and embedding this into the environmental strategy, also monitoring systems and enabling policies and regulation within the institution that support economic opportunities and needs to households and MSMEs that have been partly excluded from the commercial banking in a clean, resilient, and sustainable manner. That means we are considering activities within the institution and also external from the institution. Remember, when we are talking about external, it's about the clients that are looking for sustainability, increasing climate resilience of the clients, and having access or sustainable access to basic services. With this definition, now we are talking that we have a green concept, financial inclusion concept, and access to financial services. And the need was how to do it more tangible for microfinance institutions, how to put it into operations, how to bring this definition into access of action for the FSPs and also for investors supporting the institutions. And with this, we have designed the Green Index. I see that I like that the drawing is underlying the tool. And with the Green Index that we have developed is we aim to do it more operational. That means to bring the concepts and translate them into actions so that institutions can be guided into what to do, and having some not only ideas, but already building up their plan. How as we have explained before, it is a tool for the microfinance institutions. It's not to be implemented with its client, and it serves to measure and also plan and improve, not looking at the process of action, implementation, evaluation, and improvement. How it started, it was a tool developed back in 2014 by the Green Inclusive and Climate Smart Finance Action Group. At that time, it was called Microfinance and Environment Action Group, and this has been evolved over the years since 2014. How it evolved, now we see in 2014, we had its first version, Green Index 1.0. It was the most accepted tool to assess microfinance institution. It had one publication, and it was also available in the SPI4 as an optional dimension, dimension 7. In 2016, we incorporated lessons from the microfinance institutions. We had a publication also with Mixed Market. We assessed how was the qualitative indicators and also quantitative indicators, and it was integrated into the SPI4, but only the qualitative indicators. And since 2016 up to 2021, now we have seen there has been multiple implementations or audits of the Green Index. More than 1,000 audits have been collected, and we have integrated the lessons learned from these assessments, also the years of experience, and more than 300 stakeholders inputs that have commented or given us feedback on the tools. And we have worked together with CERISE and SPTF in order to align this tool and develop together the dimension 7. So it is also align the tools that the Green Index 3.0 and also the dimension 7 that now it's mandatory within the Universal Standards for Social and Environmental Performance Management. So we are saying that now, as you see it from the Green Index has already an extended or extensive experience. That means in the previous year, it has been implemented by multiple partners, not only members of the action group, but beyond. And it has also been integrated in multiple projects in the last decade. Some of the projects are Ecomicro, MEVA, Proyecto Cambio, and GPA from EVOS, an EFAT program, FMO, e-learning tool, MEPI, a Clean Start program from UNCDF, Green Energy from ADA. And we have now in this work of coming up with the Green Index, we have mapped and aligned the tool with international initiatives. We have checked that the Green Index indicators feel or are in line with other regulations. We have conducted also in-depth interviews with microfinance stakeholders and also with microfinance institutions and investors. We have launched surveys in 3 different languages to investors and microfinance institutions. Perhaps some of you are here with us today that have contributed, and we thank you for your inputs. Also, we have established a steering committee with SPTF and CERISE, and we have had weekly meetings along the year in order to build up the tools. And we have assessed the needs of environmental performance from multiple stakeholders, conducted different rounds of review. So what we have today and what you will see on the digital tool is, as you will see the detail of this assessment tool, it is very detailed. It goes into all the possible actions that microfinance institution can conduct in order to implement green inclusive finance. This tool, now we are aligning standards. That means when we are talking about the Green Index 3.0 and the dimension 7 of the Universal Standards for Social and Environmental Performance Management, these tools are aligned. That means we are providing with the Green Index a very detailed view. We have several indicators and also quantitative indicators. And in 4 different axes of action, the dimension 7 provides a global view. However, once you fill out the Green Index 3.0, you are also filling out the dimension 7. The dimension 7 has 3 axes. We will see by the end of this training how the tools align. And now we will start with the Green Index 3.0 details that Davide will show you.
So thanks a lot. Voilà. As said, we will see in a second how the Green Index translate the 3 concepts we explained before. So you need to think about when you fill a Green Index or when you start thinking about your environmental performance, how you position it along the 3 dimensions: vulnerability, adverse environmental impact, economic opportunity, and along the three dimensions you see here: strategy, definition and implementation, identification and management of risk and opportunity, and offer of product and services. Next slide, please.
Mm-hmm.
So now the Green Index is divided into 4 standards. You see them here. Yeah, the first one is about strategy. The second one is about identification of environmental risk and opportunity. The third one is management of environmental risk and opportunity. And the third one is about the actual provision of green product and services. So let's see in a second in detail. Next slide, please. So the GI0, so we call it 0 because it's really the starting point. Is it about how the environmental strategy is defined with an institution and how it is put in place? So how you define it, how you put in place, including, of course, the roles and the responsibility within the institution and the alignment with local or international standards for environmental performance. And now, of course, the institution is able then to monitor and report on the implementation of its environmental strategy. So we'll see in a second what it's about in detail. So the next one. So the standard one instead is about so the standard 0 basically provide the framework and the monitoring, and the standard 1 is about the identification, is what is needed to whom. So it's about the institution ability to identify the vulnerability. So remind please the dimension we discussed above of the client and the portfolio, as well as the institution itself. And of course, the negative environmental impact generated to the ecosystem by the client or the institution, and the client needs and demand for green practice and technology, as well the opportunity for the institution itself. So it's all about identification, how much is needed for the 3 dimensions discussed above, so vulnerability, adverse environmental impact, and economic opportunities, both for the client, indirect, and for the institution, direct part. Next slide, please. And the standard 2 is about how to manage the issue identified in standard 1. So it is about the processes and the tools that the institution put in place to analyze and respond to the vulnerability identified, to the negative environmental impacts identified, and to the client and demands and needs identified in the standard 1. So it's the translation of this identification into risk management processes, development and provision of services and products, etc., etc. And it is about how the institution translate the vulnerability, negative environmental impact and demand into actual risk and opportunity, being financial or extra financial ones. And the standard 3, it's about green product and services, next slide, is actually about assessing what is the offer. So it is about the supply and delivery of green product and services to the customer. It could be financial or non-financial ones. So the financial product and service include green credits, of course, but also insurance, savings, and money transfer, and other financial tools. And the non-financial services includes awareness raising, training, technical assistance, as well as partnerships. So next slide, please. So every standard is divided into 2 essential practices that allow us basically to look into more detail what is inside. Next slide, please. And here is really a summary of what is inside the Green Index 3.0. That means what is inside an environmental assessment for a financial institution that provides services to micro, small enterprises and poor households. So if you look to the standard 0, it's divided into 2 essential practices. First of all, it's definition of the strategy. Into definition of the strategy, we will see it is about the detailed goals, the mission, as well as documented strategy of the institution, and is about checking and assessing to which standards and regulation the institution aspire to or comply with. The essential practice number 2, so it's called here GI02, is about how the institution put in place the strategy. So what are the responsibility and processes that are put in place to implement the environmental strategy, what is the management of the strategy and the governance, as well as, very importantly, how the institution is monitoring the implementation of the strategy through the 3 dimensions we explained from the very beginning. So economic opportunity, vulnerability, and environmental negative impact. Then the standard GI1, that is about identification of environmental risk and opportunities, divided again in 2 essential practices. The first one is about the concept we explained before. So it's about indirect. This is all about the clients. So it is about the identification of indirect risk and opportunity. That means the identification of client vulnerabilities to energy poverty, to lack of water and sanitation, to climate change, to environmental degradation. So how much the client can be affected by this issue. Yeah, like for example, losing productivity due to droughts. And the essential practice number 2 instead is about identification of direct risk and opportunities. Please remember, direct means the risk of opportunity of the institution itself. So it means in this essential practice, we identify vulnerability of building and staff of the institution to climate change, for example, or to energy poverty, as well as the possible negative environmental impacts of the institution, use of paper, water, energy, etc., as well as the identification of opportunities for the institution itself to engage into green, for example, having access to better financing if you switch part of your offer to green solution. And then the standard number 2 So management of environmental risk and opportunity, again, is divided into two essential practices. The first one is about clients, again, and the second one is about the institution itself. So the first one is about the management of indirect risk and opportunities. So indirect, again, is about clients. So we are assessing here the inclusion of vulnerability, negative environmental impact, and demand and needs into financial risk management processes, so risk management, operational credit, etc., as well as the tool indicator use, as well as into the formulation and the offer of credit and credit processes and products. So how do you offer services and products to your clients to compensate for certain risk assessed to grab opportunity that you have identified in the standard before? And the essential practice GI22 is the management of direct risk and opportunity. So here we look at how the institution is managing, they identify opportunity and risk in the essential practices before. So the actor and processes, the action and processes that are put in place to reduce institutional vulnerability and negative environmental impact and grab opportunity of the institution. For example, putting solar panel on the roof of your headquarters, for example, deciding to do not print any more paper, or, for example, move your premises far away from a river that could be flooded by hard, heavy rain. And last one, the standard GI3 is divided again into two essential practices. The first one is about financial product and services. This is all about financial product and services. So the first part, of course, inside these essential practices are green loans. So green loans, we will see in a second what is about, but it's divided again in four categories. So clean energy and energy efficiency. Second one is sustainable agriculture, including, of course, sustainable livestock, sustainable fishery, sustainable forestry. This is all a lot about adaptation to climate change or promotion of ecosystem. The third one is about clean water and sanitation. And the first one is about circular economy, that is waste management, recycling, etc., and other green practices that could be smart mobility, etc. And then there are other financial products and services like savings, remittance, emergency loan that could support reduction of vulnerability, as well as, of course, insurance, insurance product, for example, climate insurance. And the second essential practices of the standard is about non-financial product and services. So here it is about four main services. One is awareness raising to the clients. The second one is about training to the client, and then it is technical assistance, so supporting client to implement certain better practices of technology. And the fourth one is about partnership, how to partner with a provider of services and technology. So next slide. I go now a bit faster on this, or just, please go ahead, Natalia.
Yeah, there is a question from Benedict Dash.
Yes, please.
I think, Benedict, you have your hand raised. Do you have a question? Maybe it was just Benedict, do you have a question?
Okay, so
No,
let's move forward.
There was none, so we can move forward. So Benedict, there is no question from your side, right?
So we will then see in a second what is inside. Let's just go quickly into how it's structured. So each standard and essential practices consider enabler. So enabler is about the next slide, please, so that we see the details so people can read in the same time. Is about the capacity. So is the institution trained to do, for example, environmental assessment to develop product and services, or is developing partnership with specialized institutions? So this is check for all key concepts as well as tools. So that means with which tool the institution is using to implement the various activities we described. For example, identify vulnerability. Okay, which tool are you using to identify the vulnerability or to identify the pollution of your clients? So this we call enabler. And then the other topic is about outreach. So this is about quantitative indicator. It's not just about assessing the practices. For example, are you financing solar panel? But it's about, okay, how many solar panel, which kind of solution for which use you have been doing last year, the year before, and you will aim to do next year. So that's about supporting you in monitoring, in benchmarking against peer, and of course, check the answer against outreach indicators. If you have a solar offer, but you offer only just one credit per year, even if you have a product, maybe the outreach is not supporting your product. Next slide. And then here, of course, the model is the greenindex is support on a model of improvement. So it allows you to do this improvement model. That means you plan what you want to do, you put that in place, then you check how it is being done through the monitoring, and support yourself to keep on acting and improving your plan. So it's a keep on being an improvement plan. Next slide, please. Once you fill the green index, you will see in a second, you receive a score per each one of the indicators that are part of the essential practice of each one of the standard. And you can receive a visualization on a score from 0 to 100. 100 is the best and 0 is the worst, about your performance along the four environmental standards. Of course, I would like to state again here that the scope is not to maximize and have 100% everywhere, but is rather understand how is the institution performing nowadays compared to peers, similar institution in the same country in terms of legal status, in terms of size, etc., and compared to your ambitions of how you would like to improve. And comparing where you are and where you would like to go and where your peers are, you can define an action plan to improve in certain dimension. Next slide, please. The green index offers as well a vision against along risk management. So if you go through the standard, you have the possibility to understand how the institution is monitoring the environmental risk, how is identifying the environmental risk, how is analyzing the risk, how is responding with better process and better product and services. And the green index 3.0 allow you to visualize this performance as well. Next slide. As well as it allows you to go through a view in terms of opportunity management. So how institution is able to identify opportunity in terms of need and demand of the clients, to develop product and services that are able to comply with this need and demand, to provide services concretely, and then monitoring the outreach. Next slide, please. So when you fill it indeed, so the greenness also allows you to have this visualization, to understand the capacity of the institution to manage the environmental risk, both at the level of indirect, so the risk of your client, and the level of your institution, so direct risk, as well as about the vulnerability and the negative environmental impact. So the two sides of risk management we discussed, as well as you have a visualization in terms of the capacity to identify opportunity in terms of demand and needs of the clients, the green products financially and non-financially the institution is providing, as well as a monitoring capacity of how these green products you have developed fulfill the expectation and needs of your clients. Next slide, please. Next slide. So the only thing I would like to next slide, please. To align here that I think is very important, as Natalia already stated, the green index has been designed and since a while, so since 2014, based on best practices by financial service provider. So it has been based around what the institution in microfinance and inclusive finance are already providing and aiming to provide, both by themselves or through product and project. So it's not a normative tool. It's been designed really to structure existing and forthcoming practices. But in the last review and the last update of the green index, with the 3.0, we have been spending quite a lot of energy to analyze quite some initiative standard regulation. We went through more than 70 to ensure that the new version of the green index 3.0 is aligned as much as possible on some of the existing or forthcoming in place regulation, as well as standard. So that here you see some of them probably you know, the EU taxonomy, some of you heard about that. So that you allow you that once you fill the green index 3.0, you will be able to align your assessment with the various standards that eventually yourself, your management, as well as your regulators and investors are or will be good for you. So it's sort of facilitate your life here. Next slide, please. To you.
Yes.
Natalia.
Yeah, so do you have any questions so far on the theoretical framework of the green index and history before we go into the tool? Any question? I see there is already a comment from Gabriel from an institution in Ghana who is interested to know how to implement the tool within the institution. And we will go through it now, but if you have the chance, if you have any question, you can turn on your microphone and your camera, tell us where you come from, and let us know if there is any clarification question still to address. Okay. There is no question. I had some questions about how to delete this these lines, but maybe it's just my screen, so no issues. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to see today the digital solution of the Green Index 3.0, and this tool is available over the website. You can enter it. I shared the link already in the chat, e-MFP.eu GICSF-AG. And the tool has been developed by our company, edera.online, now where we have done the digitization of this tool. You can access the tool over this link. Let's copy this link on the chat, or paste it in the chat if you can help me, Davide. And the tool has been developed by my co-founder, Alfonso Cayazzo, as a service for the action group. And the tool that you are accessing today, I will share now my screen so you see both, is enabling access to the tool that it's only for demo use. As you will see in this tool, now you can do the tool. And now how the process works is, if you are interested to implement it, you can contact us. We provide you a link of the tool specifically for your institution, so that you can have your dedicated database, and you can do a self-assessment. So you can decide to do it by yourselves, or you can also ask us if you want some guidance from our side. That means that we can meet in a meeting with your management board of directors, and we suggest always with some directors of the departments that are involved in the assessment, that it is management, product development, social or non-financial services, human resources. And then in this large meeting, we guide you in the implementation, and you can upload documents, and then we revise and see if your answers respond to the actions that you are saying that you are doing. And then with this, once you fill it out, you will receive a report where now you see how is the assessment that you have along these 4 axes of action: the environmental strategy, identification of risks and opportunities, management of risk and opportunities, and green financial and non-financial services, products and services. A demo of the report, you can find it also in this link. I think, no, is it on the chat, the link? Yeah. And how the report looks like is something like this. This has been developed by Edera. So you have the scoring per essential practice by standard. You receive also the graphs of how your diamonds look like, and also a detailed assessment of all the indicators that are completely fulfilled. It means that you have implemented at least 2 of the practices that are mentioned, and those that are partially completed, so no less than 2 of the practices per indicator. So now that we are going to start, I will stop sharing my screen and then share it again already with the tool, with the digital tool as well.
course, while Natalia shared the screen, please feel free to click on the link to open it by yourself if you have on a telephone or on your desk, so that you can go through it while we go through and explain to you the main items, so that you can, practice yourself while we explain, so that eventually you will have questions that we can answer at the end of the presentation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, any comments so far? Any question? It is that I have multiple screens here. Let me see.
Hi, Natalia.
Hello.
Yeah, this is
Who
Connie.
this?
Yeah, I'm Connie. I'm from the Philippines and I'm from Access Advisory. Now,
Nice to meet you.
yes, nice to meet you also. I'm really glad for this very valuable insights here. Now, let's say if we have already been using, let's say, SPI, and it's already incorporated in the CERISE SPI. So it's the same index, right?
Yes and no. So, or David, would you like to?
Yes, so I go ahead. So if you are using, so Connie, thanks a lot for the question. I think it's a very relevant one. So if you have been using the SPI 4, for example, so the previous version, you will find an optional dimension called the dimension 7. And that was identical to the Green Index 2.0, so the previous version, except that were not included the quantitative indicators, but only the qualitative one. Now, in the new version that will be live in the SPI tools, you will have the new dimension 7. That is the new one that is part of the social and environmental performance management standard. That is fully aligned with the Green Index 3.0, but it's not the same. So what it means is not the same. You need to think about the matryoshka. So that's the dimension 7 is a lighter version, while the Green Index goes in much more detail. So it means that if you feel a Green Index 3.0, you are already feeling the dimension 7. But if you feel the dimension 7 of the SPI, you are not feeling the full Green Index 3.0. Just to make an example, if you look into product and services, you will have in the dimension 7 that you will find in SPI or on the environmental dimension of SPTF. Is your institution providing credit for renewable energy efficiency? You will have an answer yes, no, partially. And instead, for the Green Index 3.0, as you will see, you have, for example, a question that tell you, okay, which one of the following technology you are providing to your clients? And here you have a list of 30 possible, for example. And then it's telling you, okay, are you financing the implementation, or are you financing, the use of these technologies? And then it's gonna check if are you financing with which kind of products. Do you do with the standard loans, like consumption or investment loans, or do you do with dedicated products? And then it go in details, So it's basically the dimension deeper of the dimension 7.
Okay. So what you're saying then is that although we can, since we'll be using still the SPI, but if you want to have a more in-depth analysis of the green index, then we should use this tool, right?
Exactly. And also you can do two things with that. One is to have more in-depth analysis. You're totally right. The second one is also to get awareness or get inspired of how you could improve, because you can say, okay, I feel a dimension 7, very good, and I see this is my scoring. Now I would like to improve. And if you go to the Green Index, you will find the various possibility of action and solution you could do, because it's checking one-to-one. You say, okay, that's a cool, do it. So it's also work as what are the best practices step by step. So it's also like a guiding tool if you want.
Yeah, because I'm now providing technical support to one financial service provider. It's a bank actually, and they are about to start their green finance. But we are still in the assessment stage. So do you suggest that we should start with this assessment first, right?
Sure.
Yeah,
Much
I would say so.
they're still really a greenhorn on this.
No, so you will see now that I am sharing the screen, what we will do is we will show you the different axes of action that we are evaluating, also the essential practices, and per essential practices, you will have the list of indicators / actions that the institution can do.
Okay.
So now, if you say that this institution is starting, what you can do is implement or not revise with them the tool, and they can see like no feedback that we have received. Some institutions say, wow, I didn't know that I was doing that much, or I thought that we were doing a lot, and now I see that we have still that we are capable of implementing these actions. Or there are institutions that at management level, they don't know, they even didn't know that they were doing that much at operational level. Because you have the option of filling it out by the management, but also by the loan officers. Now with selected indicators for loan officers, but to feed or to give the information to management, what are types of financial services and non-financial services that are being implemented, and that this can guide to development of products or dedicated products that before were just financed in just business capital or housing or productive for income generating activities loans. Yeah, so let's start. You will once we got into the tool, you will see how detailed it is and if it can be something that you can implement with the bank. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
So we have, no, you're welcome. So here we have the link to the tool that it's already shared in the chat. And you will know you have here an introduction, how, and the links directly for accessing the tool, that it's dedicated for management and also for loan officers or for field officers. It means the survey for field officers doesn't have any questions related to strategy, regulations, environmental assessment tools or budget, but rather the operational activities that we are including along these 4 axes of action: environmental strategy, identification of environmental risks and opportunities, management of this, and supply of green products and services. And we have different resources: the demo report, the survey to access it over your phone, Android device, or a tablet, and also a glossary if there are terms or words that for you are the first time that you that you see, you can explore here in the glossary what are we referring to. As well, we are explaining how the tool works. There is a full mode version where you can see all the indicators, qualitative and also quantitative, measuring outcomes, and a lighter version, so a light green index, which contains only the indicators that are mapped with the dimension 7. So it is a more reduced version if you want to do a light assessment. And this data that you collect, institutions can decide whether they want to share it with other stakeholders. If you are conducting already SPI 4 and you want also to share the results and that you can compare how has it been with your previous assessments, you can decide for that. As well, this tool, just to specify, this tool is for free. So you have access to the tool, you can complete it, you can have access to all these training materials and resources in this website. This is for free and enabled by the European Microfinance Platform. And you can use as well. So now you can here explore in the website how is it now all this possible information you can do, or you can use this tool for self-assessment, and you can find more information about the action group in our website. As well, you can get in contact over our website of the action group, or also over this website, and send us your messages or questions that you may have about the implementation of the tool. Okay. As well, there is a specification on the license. Now we have Creative Commons with attribution 4.0. So you know it's how you may have to quote. You have also access to the web-based version that we have used using Enquete Express and ODK. And yeah, and you can these are like the quotes that you may use once you receive the data or the assessment using the Green Index 3.0. So with this introduction, let's get started. I will click on the For Management tool. And for those that are also entering or accessing the survey in your computers, you can also divide your screen so that you see it by yourself. We are going to show you, so on the left side, how is the division by axis of action. It is your decision if you want to fill it and complete it today. However, time is a bit limited. We have the 40 minutes more, and it might take some more time than these 40 minutes. So what we are going to do is to show you the different chapters, how it works, and not like the logic behind. But we are not doing a guided assessment today, okay? Just as previous introduction. So we start here. It's introducing what is the background, the contributors and authors, and whether you are completing the tool for demo or self-assessment. You can decide. Now we're doing here for a demo. First name, well, no, these are, let's see here. So then the questions that are with a star are obligatory to fill out. You can select where are you working, and what is your outstanding portfolio, currency. And if you are doing for self-assessment, all this information is mandatory so that we can provide you with the report following the information that you are providing. So I will do here for demo. And let's, privacy policy that you can access here. And then, yes, go ahead. So here. So as we said, you can give authorization to whom are you sharing the tools, whether to Atlas, CERISE, or none of the above. Share only anonymized data or not. You have the option to select the full green index or the lighter green index 3.0. Now the indicators that are mapped with the dimension 7. Now you can have the option of if you want to provide comments to the survey or not. So comments with a text box, and if you want to include quantitative indicators. Now here, for the purpose of today, we want to show you everything. So we will click here, show, and this will be demo data. So it will be with we will be filling it out with just crazy answers, full green index. No comments. So we start here. Now the first axis of action, environmental strategy, and we have here environmental strategy, the Green Index 3.0. The institution has an environmental strategy and systems in place to implement it. We have the first essential practice, that it's the institution defines its environmental strategy. And we have here the indicators. So the institution defines its environmental strategy, detailed goals, mission, documented strategy, compliance with applicable standards and regulations. So here you explore now the institution, its environmental engagement are formalized in vision, mission, values, other, please specify. You can always explain how it is with your institution or none of the above. The institution has a documented strategy that specifies its intention to achieve at least one of the following environmental goals. And you may have different environmental goals at your institution, whether reduce the client's portfolio or portfolio vulnerability, reduce client's portfolio adverse impacts on the environment, reduce institutions' own adverse impacts on the environment, promote resiliencies or positive environmental impacts, foster the adoption of green practices, meet clients' demands for green practices, or meet clients' needs for green practices and technologies, or other. As you see, these, for instance, the questions that have yes, partially no, are questions that are in the dimension 7. So once you fill them out, is as if you were also filling out dimension 7 of the Universal Standards for Environmental Performance Management. And if you are to, for instance, you say, yes, this is one of our environmental goals, you select, and you can even go more in detail. So what are the specific goals that you have at your institution? Is it that you want to reduce the client's portfolio vulnerability to climate change, or to environmental degradation, or to biodiversity loss, or to reduce the client's energy poverty, or to address the health diseases due to improper storage, handling, or use of hazardous chemicals, or health diseases due to indoor air pollution, or other vulnerability, and you can specify. Okay, if you don't do this, you just click in no. So is there any question here so far? Just as navigation of the tool, so no, you just click those that.
I have
yes,
one. And can you also, it can be a multiple goal, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
So you can select multiple ones. You can say, I'm not only targeting climate change, but also environmental degradation, biodiversity loss, and even another vulnerability, and you can specify that. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So in this case, yes, multiple options are possible. And what we were saying about how to learn from the tool is that perhaps when you were discussing internally how to develop your environmental strategy, institutions can see from the tool which type of environmental goals should they have. And this is not that you have to click to have them all. It will always depend on the context that the institution is working. Now in Philippines might be climate change, the most important, and reduce the vulnerability, enhance resilience, rather than improper storage, handling, or use of hazardous chemicals. Well,
also included all of the above.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking yes, all of the above. We have also here some cases of waste management in Philippines, very important. But yes, you can say all of the above are important for us, but in other regions, maybe in East Europe, some institutions, it's energy access is not an issue, so they might not have this goal as they might not have this goal, but perhaps is are other, or they might not have the problems of indoor air pollution, because they have clean cooking, but they may have the goals about energy efficiency at household for insulation, so they click other ones. And it's not that it's bad to not have all of them, okay? And also for navigating the tool, you can, so it's accessible in French, in Spanish, and in English. You can change the language here. And you can also print the whole survey, revise it with calm, with time, with your team, and fill it out. You can as you see now, everything that I have clicked, it is already in when you save the PDF or you print. But you can also continue filling it out. As you will see, there might be some text in light gray because you haven't yet selected it, but you can put in your notes, and once you are ready to fill it out, you can come back with your PDF and notes and then access the link and complete it in one go. So that means so far it is not possible to, so once you open the link, you have to fill the tool, because it's not possible to fill, close the window and then come back in a week later, not yet possible. Okay, so that's important once you are implementing it, and to do it in one go, and then at the end click submit. So let's continue. So as you see, it here is about showing you how it works, the methodology. You have the different options here, indicator. So we are already indicator, green index, dimension 0, 1.3. The institution's environmental strategy specifies items required to implement the strategy. For instance, if you have quantifiable targets adopted, indicators, processes to achieve the goals, monitoring and reporting, responsibilities, definitions, and so on. And here now you have like all the indicators that we're talking about, and also what are the quantitative indicators we are also tracking. No? Let's say we have indicators, we have definitions, and what are the local context factors to be taken into account. Then the institution operates in accordance with applicable laws, national, international level, and then you have to specify which are the laws and regulations that you are following already, or if others, then you also specify, or in case national level, now we ask if it's a non-mandatory industry initiatives, such as Green Index, Dimension 7, Linus ESG Toolkit from the FMO or MEBA or other, and you specify. Or if it's something else, you just say no. International standards and regulations for disclosure and management of adverse environmental impacts. See, let's see here the different options. So as we mentioned before, this is based from the screening that we have conducted in the revision phase. International standards for disclosure and management of climate and environmental or environmental related sustainability risks. Taxonomy for green practices or technologies. So you have all here, all the options of what the institution is following. If the institution is doing none of the above, then you select no. Okay. Then we have the institution has established partnerships to support the achievements of the objectives of its environmental strategy with other stakeholders. So here you can see the different options. The institution has assigned an annual budget for the achievement of its environmental strategy. And as you see here, you have three answers. That means, so this is one of the indicators that you have at the dimension 7 of the universal standards. So once you fill it out, it's as if you were also filling out the dimension 7. And I see about the time we have still 20 minutes, David, that you want to show the other axis of action so that we can have the 10 final minutes on.
Super. So thanks a lot, Natalia, and thanks for everyone that has the energy to follow us till here. So as you see here in the tool, as Natalia is showing, the 4 standards we described at the beginning, you can select one by one. Every time you click on the standard, you can select the essential practices, and you have 2 essential practices per each standard. So in the material we're going to share with you, you will find the list, as you see here in the green part of the table, of all the indicators included, but not of all the answers, because it will make the the presentation very long. And if you go inside the link, you will find all the possible multiple option answer. Now, maybe for the sake of time, let's have a look to the part of year identification. Yeah, so let's see. So let me see, let me try to explain you rather than the detail indicator, how this indicator translate the dimension we explained from the very beginning. So you see the indicator GI111 is checking if you are able to identify vulnerability of your clients. Yeah, and then you specify which kind of vulnerability you could identify. For example, to climate change, to environmental degradation, to biodiversity losses, energy poverty, etc. Then if you go to the indicator below, it's checking about the capacity the institution have to actually assess, identify these vulnerabilities. That's, can you go below, Natalia, please? So it is about if the loan officer are trained to do so, and to evaluate, identify, and categorize the issue presented above, the vulnerability. And then below is another checking of what we called before the enabler. So if the institution is doing that alone or is doing in partnership with possible technical or technology provider, as well as for which kind of vulnerability you have a partnership in place. Can you go below, please? Yeah. And so then the logic is repeat the same. For example, you see from the GII14 with adverse environmental impact. But before going to that, you will see you have the possibility to check a qualitative indicator. So there is a qualitative indicator available that is about the outreach, as we presented before. So if you click on that, you will see a quantitative indicator that appear. You can click. Can you? Yeah, it's already done. And
yeah. I don't see it.
Okay, normally it will appear. Let's see.
Quantitative. Maybe because I'm in the demo version.
Yeah, it's possible. But okay, normally in the version you will have access to, you can open and you will have 1, 2, or 3 quantitative indicator that's check for you the outreach of what you're doing above. For example, a question will be for how many clients you have been assessing their climate change vulnerability in the last year. Yeah, and then you will be able to monitor and to see your improvement. And then yeah, no problem. And then if you go, yeah, just again a second here. So, and then you can do the same, of course, for adverse environmental impact. So it's the same. You see, with G114 is asking you which one of the following adverse environmental impact are you identifying, and that's also part of the training, because it will tell you, okay, what are the adverse environmental impact you could identify that could make sense to act upon for your client. And you see air pollution, water pollution, deforestation, land and soil degradation, etc., etc., etc. And then below it appears the same thing. So with which capacity are you doing? Did your institution receive it? So this is, of course, you can check if you're doing a client level. So it means you check at each client application, or you do at portfolio level. It means, okay, you're not assessing at each client, but for example, you will know if you're working, for example, in agriculture, if your clients are located nearby place that are forestry places where you don't want to finance eventually wood work, for example. And then below again is the same enabler about capacity of the institution. So if you are trained or if you have partnerships, and then the quantitative indicator. And here below, I just finished this step. You will see the identification. You follow the same rules. Now is the last part is about okay, here's the quantitative indicator that Natalia is showing us. So for example, a quantitative indicator is about number of partnerships that are established in the last year with specialized institutions to assess the client adverse environmental impact. So we are able to check and you're able to monitor how is improving your capacity to build partnerships. And then the last part of these essential practices is guiding you through if the institution is conducting market research to identify the opportunities. That's the third dimension we spoke from the very beginning. And so if you're identifying the needs of your client, the demand, etc., and then again you will go through other 2 indicators that ask you, okay, with which capacity have you been trained to do so? Do you have specific tools? Do you have partnership to do so? And what is your outreach? So for the sake of time, I would suggest to take a sample of other concepts that maybe are key. So if you go again on the list.
Okay.
So in the list, if we go now in the GI2. So here, let's see how you translate this identification. So now, once you've been identified, here we're still focused on the client level, the vulnerability, adverse environmental impact, and possible opportunity and needs of your client. Then all the game is, okay, what do you do out of those? You just identify and you put in a, somewhere and you don't look it anymore. No, it's how do you manage those? And this essential practice, I think, is key for the full tool. It tries to guide you through what should be the process to translate such identification into actual processes and products. So let's see, for example, the first indicator up here is about the institution incorporate into its financial risk management policies and processes that identify vulnerability, processes identified about the identified vulnerability of the client or portfolio. What does it mean? It means you have identified that your client has certain vulnerability. For example, we are exposed to climate change. For example, if there is a drought, eventually they will be affected too. And then are you able to translate this, so for example, here is written climate change, are you able to translate the vulnerability of your client to climate change in terms of a financial risk for your institution, to say, okay, that could eventually translate into a financial risk, like a credit risk or like an operational risk. And then when you go below, or if you are not able to identify that as a financial risk, of course, you can now, is asking you this indicator, that you recognize the identified vulnerability of the client as a factor of risk to achieve your social and environmental objective. What does it mean? Okay, you will say, okay, good. I see that my clients are eventually affected by climate change, but I do not perceive that that could be translated into a financial risk for my institution, like increase of non-repayment of loan. But I see an issue with my social mission, because if I'm not providing solution to this client to become more resilient to climate change, I will not be able to achieve my social mission, so like to include poor population, because it will be more and more affected by climate change. So these two indicators allow to separate it, the different way in which you can manage and identify vulnerability, and the same thing will apply for adverse environmental impact and for opportunity, into a financial risk or financial opportunity, or into a non-financial risk or non-financial opportunity, means that something that is undermining or affecting the achievement of your social operation, social mission, without eventually affecting the financial sustainability of your institution or of your clients. So just to give can you go a bit below, please? If you go below, indeed, you will see now you will see an explanation. So how do you do it? Again, so we explained, first of all, are you including vulnerability into financial, non-financial processes? And now here is telling you the institution incorporate, identify client vulnerability into risk management processes. How? And here you have a list, for example, through use of vulnerability indicators, definition of level of risk acceptances for each client category, selection of proposal to the client a specific loan product to compensate for the risk. So, and this is, you see, is also how you can use the Green Index 3.0 as a tool to generate awareness and to train yourself. To say, once you understand that vulnerability could be an issue for your client, and that could eventually affect your social mission or your financial sustainability, now how could you develop processes and products to include this risk into your internal processes? And you of course, you have a long list. And then, of course, you can identify, you can open a quantitative indicator and then see what is your outreach. Number of loan, for example, with vulnerability assessment, volume of loan with vulnerability assessment, the share in terms of percentage of the portfolio that is assessed with vulnerability. So you see is a list of things you could include into your monitoring system. It could help you to improve your processes and to monitoring the put in place of your new practices. And then let's go to the last, before going to the last example, you will see here again, the game keep on going, and now with adverse environmental impact. So again, there is the other dimension, not only vulnerability, is also about how your clients are affecting now the ecosystem, like they're polluting activity, they're cutting tree, they are using a lot of chemicals for their fields, they are burning coals to heat them up, etc., etc. The same here, the tool is asking you, are you able to translate these adverse environmental impact you identify into financial or non-financial risk, and do you have processes in place to mitigate them? And then last but not least, again, of course, you see how extensive could the Green Index be. You can go to the last standard about the product and services. So the 3, please. And so just to guide you through here again, because typically is one of the most interest, is about product and services. So let's take essential practices number 1. Yeah, it is about financial product. And let's just focus on the green products for the sake of time. So you can support your clients to grab opportunity for the green transition, to compensate for vulnerability, or to reduce their environmental impact on various ways, like could be a savings, could be an insurance, could be remittances, could be money transfer, etc. Now let's just give a look to one of these financial products, and in the green index there are all of them that are about the green products. And here, just a second above, please, Natalia. It is divided, so the green index allow you to make an assessment of your loan products along 4 dimensions. Let me repeat. One is about renewable energy efficiency. The second one is sustainable agriculture, sustainable fisheries, sustainable forestry, and sustainable livestock. The third one is about clean energy and sanitation. And the first one is about circular economy, smart mobility, and other green practices. And now for each one of them, let's just have a look to one. You start the assessment from the very beginning, top.
Okay.
Yes, here is asking you, first of all, is your institution offering any kind of loans that could be dedicated, so green or not? Because many times you offer loans that are not green, but are like a consumption loan, a working capital loan, an investment loan that you know, and sometimes you're also reporting, that is financing certain green activities. And then is asking you, do you have any loans that is not dedicated for green, that is used by the client, or that you are using to support the client to purchase clean energy and or energy efficiency technology, or to maintain them? Of course, it's different, the amount of investment you want to purchase or you want to maintain them. And then here below is a full list. If you click none of the above, so just have a try. If you click the none of above, normally you see you skip of 4 indicators. So the tool is made flexible in such a way that if you have nothing, you know already you're not financing anything on clean energy and efficiency, why you should go through to all the indicator option and checking. So you just skip to the next possible green solution and technologies that is about sustainable agriculture, animal breeding, fishery, etc. But now let's stay a second on energy efficiency, renewable energy. If now you change your answer from none of above to purchase clean energy and energy efficiency, now the tool will ask you, okay, very good. So which one are you doing it? So now you can detail and you see, okay, I have renewable energy technology. I'm financing, for example, solar lamps. I'm financing solar home system, and you can check all of them. And if you have other that are not reported here, you can just click on other, please specify. And if you click here, it opens a window, you can fill it. And while we will collect information, we will keep on adding solutions that we find in the market. Or you see below the other categories, energy efficiency technology, like biodigester, housing thermal insulation, etc. Once you fill that, then the tool is asking you, okay, very good. You told us that you have been financing this technology and these practices, but do you do with non-dedicated loan products? So that means it's a loan product that is non-branded as green. It's like a working capital loan, it's like a consumption loan, an investment loan, or other kind, or do you do with specific loan products that are branded as green? And if you click on that, here you will see a list of things you could do and things you can check. You say, okay, good. You tell us that you have a dedicated green products, and why is dedicated? What is special about other non-green products? Is it as the amount of the loan is aligned to the investment that they needed for clean energy efficiency? Are the term and the repayment schedule aligned? That has reduced interest rate, that has a payment for an ecosystem, that has any kind of credit risk guarantee, that it has an insurance, that has technical assistance that goes with. And so this you can use to check your practices as well as to, see what you could do to improve your green products. Of course, you can finance renewable energy efficiency also not with a dedicated loan product, but for other solutions like pay-as-you-go. If you just click there, you can say, okay, good, I have no dedicated loans, but I work with a specific technology provider that support me to have my client pay the technology while they use it. And then when you go below, and I almost finished to explain you how this section works, you have other 2 key indicators. One is about the enabler. how the institution is able to disburse this loan. So here is written the institution support the development of its specific, just above, Natalia, sorry. The institution support the development of specific capacity on clean energy and efficient technology. And here, if you click and select the different option, yes, so you will see how do you develop your capacity. So below you have a list, like thanks to provision of dedicated regular training to your loan officer, that you train your loan officer how to manage the green loans. Again, provision of training now on how to manage the green loans and disburse them. Partnership with provider of technology, partnership with provider of technical assistance, partnership with organization, with civil society, etc. So this is how you get your capacity inside or outside with partnership. And then you have another indicator below that is instead telling you, okay, with which tool do you use it? So the institution applies specific procedure and or tools to support the loan provision for clean energy and efficiency technology. And here you have suggestion of possible things you could do and are checked through the tool. For example, use of technical and documented information that specify the cost and the return on investment of the various clean energy and efficient technology that could be used by your loan officer to provide a better offer to your client or can generate awareness to your client. Use of technical document information that specify the benefits in terms of green benefits to your client or social, like reduction of smoke in-house. Can you just go a bit below, please? And dedicated marketing material or use of indicator that allow you to check if your loan officer finally has really disbursed a loan for this dedicated technology. And last but not least, for this set of dimension, you have quantitative indicator. Now you can say, okay, good. I have, for example, loan for a solar panel for a poor household, and I'm doing that with dedicated loan. I generate the capacity through ongoing training with some local international partner. Here is allowing you to support your benchmark and your monitoring. And it's asking you, for example, how many loans for renewable energy technology have you disbursed in the last 12 months? What is the volume? What is the share of your portfolio into renewable energy and efficiency? What is the part 30, etc. So that's allow you to monitor your progresses and to benchmark against peer. Voila, so now for the sake of time, I think I will just say what is in the next part. If you go below, you have the same path of mind with the other three categories. So I repeat, sustainable agriculture, fishery, livestock, and forestry. And then you have for clean water and sanitation, and then you have for waste management, recycling, as well as other green practices. And then it starts in the same essential practices, other financial tools like remittances, savings, insurance, etc., that you could provide. So what we hope will convince you, that's the Green Index 3.0, as for the previous discussion, is fully aligned with the dimension 7 that someone of you knows. It provides, as you probably become pretty clear as of now, much more detail that can be used for you. One, to better define what are your possible opportunity, what is your status and how you can improve, and have a much more in-depth analysis, while still being aligned with your overall environmental and social performance assessment done with the SPTF indicator, as well as aligned with the international standard. We conclude maybe with 2 words on the alignment with the dimension 7, and then we take questions if there are.
Yes, and important by the end, when you fill out the tool, we suggest to save your answers in a PDF or print your answers and then click on submit so that the information is uploaded to the cloud and you can receive then afterwards your report. So as final words in these last 5 minutes, we want to emphasize on this alignment of the tools and the possibilities that you have while implementing both of them, the Green Index 3.0 and the Dimension 7, as this collaboration and steering committee that we have had meeting every week to decide on the indicators and making sure that the indicators that the dimension 7 has are also are also in the Green Index 3.0, and that institutions that would like to go beyond, even if they are starting in the case of the institution in Philippines, or if they are in a more advanced stage, if they want to improve and see what's next after this baseline or picture that you have taken filling out the tool. Here in the Green Index 3.0, you can further explore what can you do with your green financial products or non-financial services, what are other international standards that have been implemented, and what are other institutions doing in terms of provision of loans in energy, in water, sanitation and hygiene, circular economy, clean transportation. So here you can explore the many opportunities to offer sustainable loans for your clients. This work, now is worth to mention that has been a collaboration, and we have now participants from CERISE, from the action group, from e-MFP, SPTF, and also we had the expertise from Gerd Jan Schütt, who was before at Palladium. And this in order to ensure that there's this integration of the Green Index now mandatory within the Universal Standards. How this has evolved: in 2012, we had the first version of the Universal Standards. In 2016, it was optional in the SPI4. Now there has been almost 100 audits from the SPI4 with the Green Index, and the data has been also analyzed and seeing what are the trends. Financial institutions are increasingly implementing and offering green products. I saw from one message, and there is interest about knowing what are the indicators from mixed market. What we can do is to share with you the publication that we had with mixed market and the action group on the assessment of the indicators. As you know, mixed market doesn't work anymore, or is not collecting data and publishing data. But Atlas is doing and taking over what the mixed market has advanced, and as well now CERISE. And also with this tool, we are working on gathering data in order to provide, like doing a sector assessment and provide information to stakeholders, where to focus technical assistance, where to focus also efforts from investors, whether it's more in the part of training or tools development, or guiding in the development of environmental strategy, or helping institutions to communicate from loan officers to management. So there are many fields of action once data is gathered. And this alignment is, as in the dimension 7, you have 3 standards: A, B, C. Environmental strategy, identification and management of environmental risk and opportunities, and green products and services, financial and non-financial, with the 3 essential practices, 2 essential practices for the dimension C, or for the standard C. And as you know, the evaluation of the SPI4 goes still with the scoring done partially or not, with 1, 0.5, and 0. So now it's calculated depending on the answers that you have. Then you get a scoring for the dimension 7, and then you get visualization how you perform in terms of your environmental strategy, green products and services, and identification and management of environmental risk and opportunities. Yeah. With 1 up to 100, depending on the actions that you have crossed. And finally, this detailed view is provided by the Green Index, and while the dimension 7 provides a global view along the same principles. So here you see the alignment. Now the environmental strategy is the same. The 7B combines both the identification and management. And finally, the standard C is the same as green products and services, although not as detailed as here as we have, whether dedicated, non-dedicated, types of technologies, and what are the conditions, what are the conditions that you are giving this type of product. And then we have, well, here again are the same details. And with this, now we go over 2 minutes, but with this, we wanted to finalize and close this training, providing you an introduction of the tool, what is a theoretical framework, the main concepts, access to the digital tool, navigating how it works, showing you how does it work in the multiple languages. Also, if you want personalized or guided assessment, you can contact us. And we will, and as I was sharing in the chat, we will be sharing with you the recording of this session, access to the materials, to the presentation that we had today, to the links to access the survey. In the link, you can also have access to the glossary, to the survey for your Android device or tablet, and also a contact form if you have specific questions that we haven't covered today. We will have a second session in English in November. You have seen that in the flyer. If you want for other colleagues to join, don't hesitate to share with them this information or resend the invitation. And now if we have 5 minutes more and there are like some questions in the chat, we can answer them. But for now, we can do some announcements. We will have a webinar on the 20th of October from the action group, featuring the work of the Kenyan microfinance institution Fortune Credit that has been implementing green inclusive finance with multiple products. And we will also have the European Microfinance Week in November from the 15th to the 17th. So our members are welcome to join us in the first day with our action group meeting, and of course to participate at the week in Luxembourg. And there are different options. You can attend presential and also online. We have as well more announcements. There is the conference from Dred Camif this week taking place in online version. You can participate. There will be a live translation to English, so you're welcome to join. And here we may have the link to the conference. Let me see if we can. Yeah, I think Davide can share with you the link. And we are also having some sessions in Green Inclusive Finance in the Financial Inclusion Week with some work that we have done from Edera with Sanat on green microfinance in the MENA region, assessing what is the development of green microfinance in these countries, and with some examples of microfinance institutions from Tunisia and Yemen.
And
Is there
maybe building
Yes.
on that what Natalia is clearly stating. It is very important to think that green inclusive finance is not working on silos. Yeah, so that I think you maybe have not stressed it enough, but it is a transversal topic. So a transversal topic, for example of the conference of Red Camif is about digitalization of financial institution, and of course I put here a link. Digitalization is one of the part that could enable better environmental performance in terms of access to data, in terms of managing information, in terms of reducing costs, as well as a transversal topic with other things maybe many of you are working with. Like for example, is rural outreach, agriculture development, or is like gender. Yeah, including of gender topic into your lending. As you will know, women are very much affected more by climate change and have different problems in general than men, and is also part of the green inclusive finance agenda to provide tailored products for the green transition for the various segments of your clients. Voila. Any last questions or comments? And of course, if you found interesting what we told you and you want to invite some of your colleagues, as Natalia said, please make them joining the next session that we're going to have in November. Also, you can share the next section of training with your partners. That could be your network, could be your investor and other. And as well as if you think that looks interesting, but was a lot of information, I want to get a second training, please feel free to rejoin. It's still for free, even the second time, the first and the second time for you as well. If you want to give, some further training on the same topic, so that will get you, to get training on the topic. So you will have time to read some of the material, and then you will have another training that this time will be instead informal. So we will be ready with material you read before entering into the training.
Mm-hmm. There is one question on content from Nupur Marotti. Is there possibility to also include green affordable housing finance products? And we don't have Okay. So then we don't have a category that it's called green affordable housing. What we have are elements of housing as energy, as water, sanitation, and hygiene. And in energy, we have electricity, we have cooking, we have energy efficiency, and in water, sanitation, and hygiene depends if it's for access to drinking water or to storing water or to sanitation facilities. Institutions can specify what are exactly they financing. If we see with time that with the data that we collect that institutions refer to green affordable housing, then we will include that category. But so far we have seen is rather that institutions are, like marketing or doing their offerings in the categories energy or water, sanitation and hygiene or waste management, but not as housing. And talking about what institutions are doing, I will share with you database of microfinance institutions that are doing energy loans. This is a research work that I have been conducting in the past year. And here you have over 100 microfinance institutions with their energy loans, how they describe them, what is the name, what type of products are they offering, also links to their website so that you see how they describe these loans. And it's interesting to see also what are the motivations behind. Some of institutions are calling it green loans, or others are combining energy and wash. Others are saying this is an solar loan. So in Africa, we see tendency that institutions just say this is energy or this is solar credits, while in Latin America, it's more about environment protection or green loans. So you can explore, and if your institution is not yet there, also tell me and I include you. Connie, you have another question.
Yes, one last question. Are you intending in the future planning to accredit, let's say, for example, if I will become an assessor using this tool, do you have such like accrediting, or just like CERISE, for example, like they allow or they're accrediting assessors using the SPI? Do you also have that in mind?
Yeah, Davide wants.
Yes, so it's part of the process indeed. So you will have as a next step from our side. So you have these trainings that you have received, broadly. You will have a Green Index 3.0 publication available soon that is going to support, in terms of concept and content, what the Green Index 3.0 is, as well as the digital solution there. And with Natalia and with other action group members, we have been performing and testing the process of using the Green Index 3.0 with various partners. And now the next process is exactly how to train third party like consultants, etc., so that they get to know how to do, and then eventually certify them so that they can provide this training eventually with the quality control of the action group. Yes, it's in our pipeline. So please put
Count
your
me in.
email.
Count me in, ready?
Yeah, we will. We will put you in the list.
Yeah, because I'm assisting a lot of institutions, not just in the Philippines, but even in
Mhm.
Cambodia, in Nepal,
Yeah.
in
Super.
Vietnam, so here in Southeast Asia, and they really need this. Okay.
Yes. So that's also the goal, enabling access to all these tools and to the materials and the glossary and doing these trainings so that we have other like a train the trainer approach,
Yes.
so that you can also support your local institutions, of course.
Thank you very much. It's a very, very helpful, very valuable insight. I'm really happy to be in this training.
Thank you very much, Connie, for your feedback.
So thanks a lot to everyone. I think the time is against us, and probably also you have other maybe non-green or not so greener things to do today. So we leave you go, and we speak with you soon. And if this presentation have raised your interest of your institution also to join, effort with the Green Inclusive and Climate Smart Finance Action Group, just drop an email. We will be happy to include you in our diffusion list and eventually to make you part of some of our activities. Thanks a lot for your engagement into the green transition. We are here to work with you, and we wish you fantastic, hopefully, Green Day.
Okay. Goodbye. Thank you to all, and see you very soon. Yeah.